Hey guys, I'm coming to you from home tonight. I'm going to be out with my son who is sick. I hope this helps. This is third grade for 2-28-19. And this first question is where we're practicing multiplying numbers by numbers that are ending in 0. I've even talked about how it could have been like a hundreds number or a thousands. And what I say is digit times digit and then bring the 0 down. So that's the reason why I have blocked off these numbers. So we practice that. So like 2 times 6 was 12 and then bring the 0 down. This question here was where it said how much did the frogs weigh? And I talked to them about how if they're studying with their mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, brother, sister, whoever, that they could change the amount of frogs and how many groups of frogs there were. Of course, the important word was each, and they know that that should mean multiply. And then the frogs weighed 27 grams. And of course, you can change those numbers any way you want. And that would be helping them learn that terminology. Another Cuban acing question. And I'll give a shout out to Miss Keisha. That was who this one was in the book, but that's Miss Keisha from 3rd grade. I hope you're having fun. But this one says, how many magazines has Keisha saved? 5 stacks, 10 magazines. How many magazines has she saved? So what you could say is what I told them would be a different amount of stacks, a different amount of magazines in each stack, and that would of course give you a different amount. But once again here, this value gave them a chance to practice that multiples of 10, digit times digit, and giving them that practice there. This is a time question, and this one was a little different. They've been given a start and end time and been asked how many minutes was that. This one is a question where they're given a start time and then an amount of time is 45 minutes. What time will that be? So that was a little different this week. So you may want to practice that. So we did 9:05. We knew it was going to be 45 minutes. So we did 10, 20, 30, 40, and then 5 minutes. And then we counted up how many minutes was that, and that was going to be at 9:50. The distributed property, we practiced this one. I tell them that means handing out, and in this case, we're handing out the 7. So the original problem was probably going to be 7 times 8. They broke the 8 down into 3 plus 5. Then we're going to hand the 7 to each one of these numbers. It goes to step 2 as 7 times 3, which is this number, and then 7 times 5, which is this number. The question that they are asked to complete is in step 3, where they're completing the 7 times 3 and the 7 times 5. They even give them the 56, which is the answer. So they're just asked to do this step 3, this part right here. On the next page, which is actually on my back page, I messed up whenever I did this last year. Okay, so they had this question, which is rounding, just making sure that they're paying attention to the place value that they are rounding it to. That's the reason why we underline it and dot the place value that's going to be doing the rounding. This one, they are drawing a rectangle, I think is the specific, they gave them a specific shape to draw. And then they said divide it into 8 pieces or 8 parts, and then shade 1/8. So we also talk about that if they're dividing it into 8 parts, how many lines would that take to cut this? So that would mean that they would draw 7 lines, always 1 line less than what they are cutting it into pieces. On their paper, they probably have AU squared, area unit squared equals length times width, which is going to give them 8 times 2 equals 16 units squared. And of course, you can change the measurements. This one was a question, and they give them an example, and you can even tell them whenever you guys look at this, or if they're listening, remember that there was an example, and there may be one on the test as well. You never know, but it gives you an example where it says there are 10 stars in the group, how many groups, that was the missing part, how many groups of the 5 stars. So you're just counting how many groups do they have. And this one was a number line, and they had to pick which one of them equaled 4 fourths equals 1. So looking at a number line to tell the different parts. Subtracting, and believe it or not, this is still a very tricky concept for them, knowing how to borrow, and especially with this regrouping with zeros. So practicing that. Looking at a picture, picking out how many are shaded out of the total. Fast fact, which means practicing multiplication always. Talking about, and this is something that we're talking about, all the properties of the quadrilaterals, which we did a quadrilateral family tree that was in their notebook. So which one, not a square, a rectangle, or a rhombus. So it is a parallelogram, which would mean that it had 2 pair of parallel sides. This one, the associative property, which is grouping. So all they're doing is moving the parentheses to the other side. And that, I think, is all of our 15 questions. I hope that you guys had a good day, and won't see you back tomorrow, but maybe on Thursday. We'll see. Have a good night.